Hello and welcome. I am Deji Badimasi. So the long-awaited ministerial list is out, putting an end, of course, to weeks of anxiety and speculations about who would be in or not. And as to be expected, the list is generating a lot of debate. The Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, delivered the document containing the list to the Senate President on Thursday in consonance with Section 147 of the 1999 Constitution, which requires the list to be submitted latest 60 days after the inauguration of a president or governor, as the case may be. Now, Tinubu's list contains a lot of familiar names, including the current acting national chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, Senator Abubakar Kyari, who represented Borno North in the 8th and 9th Senate. Also on the list are a number of former governors, including that of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, his counterpart from Rivers, Nyesom Wike, a card-carrying member of the main opposition People's Democratic Party, the immediate past governor of Jigawa State, Abubakar Badaru, and former governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, who is currently the deputy majority leader now in the Senate, all make the list. 7 of the 28 ministerial nominees are women, making up 25% as currently constituted. Now, worthy of note is the nominations of Uju Ohaneye, who was the APC's sole female presidential candidate in the June 2022 presidential primaries of the APC, and of course who stepped down for Tinubu. And of course we also have Betta Edu, the current national women leader of the APC. Now more names are still being expected to follow soon to make up the list, as Adamawa, Kogi, Lagos, Anambra and Bayelsa states are not included in the list submitted to the Senate. The Senate, of course, is expected to begin screening the nominees probably from next week. Now, shortly after submitting the list, the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, gave an interview to the media, and this is what he said.
Mr. President took his time to sift through those names. He dissected those names with a fine-tooth comb. And that's what you've seen. Each and every one, I believe, of the persons on that list are worth being on that list. But I really hope that we haven't missed anything that would have necessitated any name not being on that list. But we wait and see. It's a good mix of both people with political acumen and technocrats, as they say. So it's a good balance, and it's needed and these are people who have keyed in to the vision and the mission of Mr. President. And it's, like I said, it's a good balance needed to move the country forward, as Mr. President is eager to do and has already started doing. Work should start in earnest for them in the next week or two, because I don't see the Senate wasting too much time in the confirmation, not because they're not going to do a thorough job. They will do a thorough job, but they will balance it with the need with the knowledge that time definitely in these times that we're in, time is of the essence. I like the idea of attaching portfolios. I actually do, because it makes for necessary for the Senate to know exactly what you're asking and what you're looking for. But for now, it's been thought wise that we stick to the tradition of sending the names and then allowing, whilst the screening process is going on, allowing the Mr. President and his team to look at the portfolios and the characters and see how they fit. First step that he has done is that these are people that can work whatever, wherever you put them, except the specialized fields like Attorney General and what have you. But in the main, in most of the portfolios, he believes most of them can fit in anywhere.
Well, let's discuss this further now. I'm now being joined on the program by Jide Ojo, who is a political affairs analyst, and of course Abubakar Kyari, who's also a political affairs analyst. Both of them joined us. They actually joined us from Abuja. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. Jide, let me start with you. A couple of issues there we raised by the Chief of Staff to the President. And let's start with the last one, the issue of attaching portfolios to the ministerial nominees. Everyone had thought it was going to happen this time, but the President chose to follow tradition, so portfolios not attached. Do you have any issues with that?
I do. And first and foremost, let me start from the very, should I say, pessimistic note that it has taken the president 58 days after inauguration to come up with lists of 28 nominees. When the president said he was going to hit the ground running, we all thought in the first 1 month we are going to see the list of ministers. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. Now he has gone the way of his predecessors by just submitting names while no portfolio is attached. So it's like the Senate will be flying blind. Let's take, for instance, Attorney General and Minister of Justice. People may say, oh, Lateef Fagbemi is the incoming Attorney General. But we haven't seen the entire list. There are still 11 states that we have not seen their nominees. And Section 147 sub 3 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as altered, says that at least one person will be appointed from each of the 36 states. And we have seen more than one nominee: Katsina, Cross River, and I think Bauchi. So it then tells you that, again, we are going for an overbloated cabinet of 42 or 43. But the fact that the president did not attach portfolio will amount to the screening exercise to be just a hollow ritual, because like almost half of that list are either former governors, serving governors, former governors and former lawmakers. Former governors and former lawmakers made up of almost half of that cabinet. So you can as well project that it will be take a bow and go. I don't see any screening that will be done on Dave Umahi, for instance, or Olubunmi Ojo, who is a returning House of Reps member, or Oyejocha Nkiru, who I think she's still even a serving House of Reps member.
I think she lost her election also. I
can't
okay. Remember now.
But she was there in the 9th House of Reps, and I thought she was one of those who even wanted to vie for leadership position.
Yeah, she lost her election, I think.
You also have someone like several other former lawmakers, Abubakar Kyari, former lawmaker, 2-time senator, and several others. So these people, according to the tradition of the National Assembly, will simply be asked to take a bow and go. And for former governors, out of respect for their previous portfolio, you also don't want to grieve them too much. So at the end of the day, it's just going to be mere hollow ritual. I'm not saying any one of them that will not pass through this screening exercise.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Let me go to Abubakar Kyari. What's your take? I mean, is it very important? How important is it to attach portfolios to these nominees?
It would have been a first. So all that happens is that Tinubu has followed the well-beaten path of his predecessors by merely sending names without attaching portfolios. But probably because the Constitution does not compel him to do so, but Nigerians would have appreciated it much better if all these nominees were assigned portfolios, again the legislators too would have found it easier to screen them, to focus their questions within the context of the portfolios assigned to them. All the same, I still believe that there are a substantial number of them that are greenhorns in court as far as ministerial appointments are all about. Some of them are quite new to the system, and I'm really thrilled by the fact that in terms of age and gender, which is a very good classification, Tinubu has attempted to do something. If you look at the age average of the 28 nominees so far, you find out that it will be 50-something. As a matter of fact, I've counted about 8 or 9 of the nominees that are below 50 years, particularly the female ones. Some of one of them is 36, another 38. There are a number of them that are in their early 40s, and then some of them in their 50s. So it's going to be a little bit different from his predecessors who appointed gerontocrats. Yes, we are expecting a couple more. The average may shift, but so far he has shown some sensitivity towards the youth. The women may not get 35% as they are canvassing for, but so far, out of the 28, 7 of them are women, and that is also a little bit of departure from the past. So by and large, I believe that the list is a good blend of politicians and the so-called technocrats. And mark you, even among the politicians, a number of them are actually technocrats. We have had politicians like Umahi, who are engineers, Erufai is a quantity surveyor, Dengiwa is an architect, Hanatu Musawa is a lawyer, Mohamed Ali Pate is a medical doctor, Ambassador Tuga is a developmentalist. The fallacy that many people bandy about is that there is a distinction between politicians and technocrats. As far as I'm concerned, that is not true. It is quite possible for one to be a politician and a technocrat. So going by CV, as far as I'm concerned, I think the list is quite impressive so far.
Quickly talk. Let's talk about the time it took the president to submit this list. Some people have said, look, why should it take the president, just as Jide said, why should it take the president 58 days to submit a list that contains familiar names? Probably he should have done it earlier than now. But then when you look at the fact that the states are supposed to come up with this list, is it such an easy thing for the president to sit down and draft a list? Because I want to believe the states are supposed to make imputes. For instance, why would we still have 11 outstanding states? There just might be problems with those states. But why is it always difficult for presidents to just come up with their list of nominees, shortly after their inauguration? What exactly is peculiar about it that makes it delay for such a long time? I will start with you, Mr. Kari.
Yeah, contrary to the expectations of many people, it is not really easy to select ministers. There are so many interests to pander to, so many interests to cater for. You have to be sensitive to so many variables. So that is why I'm not particularly bothered by the fact that it took about 2 months for Tinubu to come up with the first list of his ministers. I know, first and foremost, APC itself is a collection of tendencies and groupings and interest groups and so on, and all of them have to be accommodated. And there are also peculiarities that are associated with his own candidacy in the first place, and there are certain things he was supposed to prove or disprove, religious variables, ethnic variables, youth variables and so on and so forth. So it is actually not easy, as far as I'm concerned, to pick ministers, because any false step will follow him to the end of the administration. He will likely to be vilified and assailed for taking a wrong decision, even though I know very well that he cannot possibly satisfy all the interest groups. So, as far as I'm concerned, it is a bit understandable that it has taken him so long to come up with this list. It is not easy at all.
What do you think, Jide?
Again, the buck stops at the table of the president, and the more he tarries, the more he will be swamped by intrigues and politicking. So much so that even if we go by the excuse by my brother, Professor Kari, in 1 year you will not even appoint anybody. And we have seen that happen in Edo State. We saw that happen in Osun State under Aregbesola. Even under the Ademola Adeleke, that has also been the norm. We have seen several states where it took over 1 year to appoint commissioners.
Yes.
The point is, if you come up with a list of 37 or 42 in your first 1 month, you can replace along the line. The point is
it always easy to replace? I mean, wouldn't that generate bad blood? You appoint people, and after probably a month or two, you begin to change them?
No. Let me put it this way. There are over 3,000 members of the Presidential Campaign Council of APC, and almost all of them will want to jostle to land a plum appointment. There are other considerations. For those who cannot make ministerial list, there are board positions where thousands of them can be accommodated. But the constitution has a mandate. I tell you for free, left to some of these governors and the president, they will not even appoint any ministers or commissioner. They just prefer to run a solo show. But the constitution has made it mandatory that you have to appoint commissioners and ministers. And I'm saying that no matter whom you choose, there are people who will feel that they were neglected or discriminated against. So you can't satisfy everybody. Look at the furore that the appointment of Yeson Wike will generate in Rivers State. So APC Rivers will say, so none of us is good enough. You have to go to opposition to pick your nominee. There are those who will even feel where the ladies were appointed from, while none of the men who worked for the party didn't get appointed. So you can't actually satisfy everybody, but it will have been ideal to have these people in your first 30-40 days, hit the ground running, and after 6 months, 1 year, by midterm, you can make a replacement for any one of them that doesn't perform. And they are all serving at the pleasure of the president. They are all his lieutenants. So you won't have a perfect selection at the end of the day. Because I tell you for free, the 11 states where nominees have not been made, the president will still be under intense pressure since that yesterday for names to be replaced. Remember that in the last few days, there are those who already speculated that for Osun State, his cousin, Oyetola, former governor, is the nominee. There are those who have speculated that which other person made the list. There are so many fake lists.
That clearly shows how difficult it is, I mean, to handle situations as this. But let me ask you this. Let's talk about, because you raised it, and it's one of the issues I actually wanted to talk about, the nomination of Nyesom Wike, who is still a card-carrying member of the PDP. What do you make of that?
There's nothing outrageous or strange about that. We have had scenarios like that in the past. Recall that in 2003, President Olusegun Obasanjo then appointed people from opposition party in what he called Government of National Unity. He did invite the AD national chairman, Alhaji Abdul Kadir, into his cabinet. He also extended invitation to Chief Godwin Ume Ezeoke, who was then the national chairman of AMPP, who nominated his son to serve in Obasanjo's second term. So we have seen that before. We also saw Mimiko under Goodluck Jonathan between 2011 and 2015.
That's true.
Mimiko appointed someone, nominated Dr. Pius Osunyikomi as his own nominee under Goodluck Jonathan. The man didn't get nomination as a minister, but he was appointed as a special advisor to the president on foreign affairs. It was the sole ticket given to Labour Party in Ondo State then, which was when Ondo State was the only governor produced by Labour Party. And that ticket was given to Mimiko to nominate someone. And it went to Dr. Pius Osunyikomi, who is today the DG of Technical Aid Corps. He was eventually upgraded from being a special advisor to Goodluck Jonathan to being the DG of Technical Aid Corps. He's now serving out his second and final term. So these things do happen where you extend olive branch, you extend invites to opposition elements. And here you cannot say that Wike did not merit the nomination because of the enormous work he did for Ashwaju in Rivers State. So much so that he even prevented the presidential candidates of PDP, Atiku Abubakar, from campaigning in Rivers State. So, yes, some people will say it's anti-party, but it's not today we've been having anti-party. Politics is about interest. It's not about friendship or enmity.
Professor Kari, what do you make of Wike's nomination? Certainly won't go down well with the APC members in Rivers State.
Well, I think Jide Ojo has said it all. But the addition is that this is classic political pragmatism, and we have known Tinubu to be quite politically savvy and politically pragmatic. So all he did was to capitalize on the crisis within the PDP to further divide them. It was very clear in the build-up to election that he has something to do with the so-called G5 governors. And we all know that Nyesom Wike is the leader of the G5 governors. And most of the G5 governors, except perhaps the former governor of Benue State, or Tom, actually work for Tinubu instead of their party. So, and since politics is about reward, politics is about interest, the appointment of Wike actually did not come to virtually everybody as a surprise. And as Jide pointed out, it also follows from the historical trajectory that it has happened all the time through all the republics. The ruling parties have always poached ingeniously or disingenuously the opposition parties. And in the past, it has proved to be a very dangerous romance because the elements of the MPP simply decamp to MPN. Even Bola Ige, up to his death, continued to work against the interests of his own party. And now the behavior and antics and actions of the so-called G5 governors have placed them in a very interesting situation. Nobody knows for certain whether they still belong to PDP, the level of commitment or any that they have for their own party, whether they will port into the APC one day, and so on and so forth. But this just goes to show that Tinubu is very, very pragmatic. He has continued with the tradition of political pragmatism of poaching into the other parties, looking for willing accomplices, so to say, or willing traitors, as some people will call them, who work with him. So it would have been a huge surprise if Wike had not met the cabinet.
All right, gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for your time. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Thank you very much for coming on the show, and thank you for your insights. Thank you. All right, we'll take a short break, but coming up, NNPC Limited uncovers 240 incidents of oil theft in just 1 week. Stay with us to find out more. Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal. How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On Digi 360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
Digi 360, dissecting the issues.